pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Set this up beforehand, but I think we're at the point where we need a student to read our statement, if that's where we normally are, the mega statement. So who wants to read the mega statement?
I will.
No. Volunteer.
Grab it.
You want to grab a kid at random, put them on the spot? I think we should do that. That's a good call, Mr. Marco. Send someone in. Who's the closest kid?
I
I'll do it.
got the perfect
You
student.
got the perfect.
She just graduated, but this is my way to give back.
Oh, funny. She goes, oh
You
no.
have it pulled up? I got it
I
pulled
do.
up. So we're kind of putting you on the spot here. Dave, do you have it pulled up on your computer?
I do. She wants to come here.
Yeah, we'll go over there. Can you read that for us?
Yeah, just like out loud.
Yes.
Yep.
In your head doesn't do us any good.
All students will graduate prepared with the knowledge, skills, attitude, and behaviors necessary to achieve their personal goals and make a positive impact in the world.
That's perfect. Thank you. And you know, we record these. You can play these back if you want. So,
I will not be doing that.
thank you. You know, what we do next is normally after the mega statement is the student representative kind of tells us what has happened in the last couple of weeks in school. You haven't had that, but anything to tell us has been going on in the last month?
I graduated. I don't know what's going on anymore.
What's going on with you? How are your college plans coming in?
Oh, it's great. So, I did get accepted to WPI. Told you guys about that last time. I did get accepted. I am going.
Awesome.
So, I am really excited about that. I have my roommates and my dorm figured out, my classes, and I leave next month. So,
All right.
And
So,
your,
of
and
all
your
the-
mom's getting a goat from you before you leave, right?
yeah.
Of all the students to choose from, why would Mr. Martin go out and choose you?
When I was in ninth grade,
Uh-oh, here I go.
when I was in ninth grade and what was it, AP Human Geography, and we were online because of COVID, and we had a conference, and he told my parents, he said, Megan, she is difficult in the best way possible.
Yeah,
I am difficult.
yeah, but in the best way possible.
Yep. So that's probably why.
That's why you're gonna be a good problem solver.
Exactly. I have to not be the problem, but you know, you have to know the problem. So I'm very familiar with arguing. Let's say that.
Yes.
Well, congratulations on getting in.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Thank you for your help tonight.
Thank you.
We'll also see you in a little bit.
Oh yeah.
You're good.
Good now. All right, good idea, Mr. Martineau. 4.01 is welcome and guidelines for public comment. Do we have anyone that signed up for the public comment session? So just the rules that we have is that we have you state your name and address when you start speaking. We do require people to have addresses in our school district. Then the only other requirement, I think everything else is probably common sense, but we do limit you to 3 minutes. So I'm sure you know that, everything's prepared. We will start with Rachel Rushman.
Yes, that is me. I'm gonna sit, if that's okay, because I'm gonna be reading
Perfectly
this letter. So Rachel Rushman, my address is 10212 124th Street in Chippewa Falls. I have a daughter, Evelyn Rushman, who will be a second grader this fall at Hillcrest. And I'm here along with some other parents of the second grade class at Hillcrest to urge the school board to provide an additional second grade teacher for this upcoming school year. Currently, as you know, there are only 2 teachers for the second grade class, which have 27 students in each classroom. Out of the 6 elementary schools in the district, Hillcrest has the highest amount of students per class. The other second grade classes in the district are only at 17 to 19 students each. That is obviously not an equitable distribution among the elementary schools. Adding a 3rd classroom at Hillcrest would create class sizes of 17 to 19 students each, which would then be comparable to the other schools in the district. The Chippewa Falls School District has stated that the target class size for lower elementary students is 18 to 22 students per class. The current setup is clearly not meeting those standards. Having 27 students per class will without a doubt be challenging, not only for the students, but also for the teachers. When you consider the extra support necessary to ensure students are succeeding, from what could be extra help with reading or math to help overcoming challenges with mental health or behavioral needs, it seems very unrealistic that a class size as large as 27 could be successful. Myself, along with other parents, have been notified of issues with bullying and behavioral outbursts in the classrooms in first grade, which had smaller classroom sizes, so how will that be managed with even larger class sizes this year? Additionally, please consider the importance of each student's ability to learn to read. Research shows that if students are not reading at grade level by third grade, they are more likely to struggle in all other academic areas and are less likely to graduate high school. Many parents agree this current setup is not a viable solution. We've talked with teachers at Hillcrest who also agree that another class for second grade is necessary, and have spoken with a school board member who is also in agreement with this. The school has said they are trying to retain enrollment and teachers, but with this current arrangement, parents, including myself, may also consider open enrollment or private schools as alternative options. Again, I urge you to consider funding another second grade teacher to ensure that these students will receive a positive learning experience and also give the teachers the necessary resources to do their job effectively. This includes hiring a qualified teacher that doesn't take any resources from another classroom in order to do that. Thank you for your consideration.
May I have a copy of that letter?
Sure. Do you want it in writing or in email?
Email's fine too.
I can email
If
it.
you have a spare copy, you can,
I do, it has notes on it, if you don't mind that.
I don't mind.
I also have a copy of the spreadsheet indicating the difference between the second grade classrooms
Yeah, we
among the
have that.
district, which I know you have, but it's printed.
Thank you, Ms. Rushman. Right, next we have Erica Stevens.
Erica Stevens, what's my address? 618 West Central Street in Chippewa Falls. I had emailed everyone, I think last week, so I just wanna echo what Rachel is saying, that this is not okay. And last year for first grade, we were contacted at the very end of last year for a third section of first grade, and they asked if I would be okay with my daughter being taught by an intern and then guided, that class was gonna be supported by a special education teacher, and absolutely not. I mean, my daughter is receiving support, as did I, and I indicated in that email, in reading, and I'm not gonna take risks, I guess, with her education. I think what ended up happening, because I talked with some teachers, is that left the special education department tapped. And then that one teacher that is basically doing double duty. She was going to the special education department and helping there, and then also helping in that classroom. So I do also, worry about those first graders who are going into a second grade class being taught with, an intern who was in learning herself, never taught those lessons, now going into second grade with those numbers. I mean, they're gonna just, I don't know. It's too much. So I'm gonna ask for a third section.
Thank you, Ms. Stevens. Next is Katie Hartman.
Katie Hartman, 10381 124th Street in Chippewa here. I just echo exactly what Rachel said. I just urge you guys, really consider this third teacher, this third section. Right in your mission, it's you're here to support and help these kids learn, and that's setting these kids up for failure. 27 kids in a class. How can you learn from that? That's just chaos. So we just really urge you guys to really consider this. Set these kids up for success.
Thank you, Ms. Hartman. Next is it Ann?
Sorry, it's
Hamlin?
Ann Hamlin.
Okay.
Ann Hamlin, I live at 1715 Whitetail at the tippy top of Terrell. And my daughter Jean Bean is gonna be in second grade. And Jean requires a lot of services from Hillcrest. And so I know a lot of what happened last year just in our little tiny ecosystem. And these kids have been in school together for 2 years already. And so there's So we know what we're talking about when we're talking about the kids. We know what we're looking at. We go to swim lessons together, you know. So I'd also urge the, the decision makers to take a look at not just the teacher to student ratio, but the other services that are provided by the school. So Title I, special ed, not even just staff to student ratio. I'm talking demand of services. Where are the levels of services happening? Because I think there's a lot more to consider than just even student to teacher. There's no paras in these classrooms. It's one person, 27 kids. Whether there's 2 tantrums happening, 5 tantrums happening, four chairs falling, 1 teacher, 27 kids, teaching them how to read. So, so I just want you guys to take another look at your pupil count. What is it? 10.01. Your own handout. So, thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Hamlin. All right, I don't believe there are anybody else signed up for either the agenda-related or non-agenda related items. So next on our agenda is the robotics team. I have Dr. Wolter come in.
Thank you guys.
Thank you all.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Thank you, ladies.
Do you need anything cleared out? Chairs?
Need a helmet?
Good at pushing stuff out of the way, but
Not a ton of people here. We get some help there.
I'm guessing not everyone brings this kind of prop to their presentations. Don't be shy, robot.
I'm working on it. I got it.
Okay, well, I'll just get going while they're lining things up. This is about like live stream, so is that the camera I should be like pretending I'm talking to?
Either one.
Well, that's distracting. Thanks for having us. Always fun to be here. I will try to keep my comments brief because I'm under no illusions whatsoever. What you really want to see is this, and who you really want to hear from is them. But we show up every year in part to say thank you to the district for supporting our first robotics team. And I would like to offer you something in return. Help with part of your job. I've read the district's mission statement. It's frankly a little long-winded. But what it boils down to is prepare the kids for the real world. How can you tell if you're doing it? I mean, you have these discussions, and I assume they start out with numbers like graduation rates and everyone's favorite standardized test scores. And numbers are fine, nothing wrong with them, but I don't think they tell the whole story. I do have some numbers for the robotics team. This season past, we had 27 high school students on the team. We think that's sort of the sweet spot in terms of our logistics. We also continue to run a farm club, as it were, at the middle school. It's called Robot School through the Voyagers program. We're going to double the size of Robot School this fall, so if you want a ballpark number, I'd say our combined robotics program is going to be dealing with about somewhere in the low 40s in terms of numbers of kids. Busy, challenging season. The students that we have in robotics do a lot of other interesting things. When we were here last year, we had just finished doing the Make 48 rapid prototyping competition. I was under some constraints then, and I couldn't tell you how we did. I can now. They won, and it wasn't even close, was it? Not really. That particular competition, this is just kind of a side gig, they had to come up with a concept, run it past patent attorneys to make sure it hadn't been done before, develop a design, build a non-functional prototype, and then give a video and in-person sales pitch. But we sent a team of 3 kids from the robotics team there who've been working together for years under time deadlines, and they said, well, that's not hard enough. So they built a working prototype, and they didn't need the whole 48 hours. With about 3 hours to go, they said, can we have a deck of cards? Because they wanted something to pass the time while they waited for the rest of the world to catch up to them. Now, at least the Make 48 stuff I knew about. In addition, during the most intense build and competition season I've ever been part of, about a quarter of the team also did Skills USA. Various engineering things, did quite well at the regional level, and last month we had 3 kids competing in the national Skills USA. This is stuff they're doing on the side. By the way, tip of the cap to the other Chi-High students who were there, taking 3rd place in the nation in the welding competition. That is genuinely remarkable. So good work, John Evil. On top of that, we have kids who are active in National Honor Society, Future Business Leaders of America, a variety of other design and artistic endeavors. So this is not a bunch of one-dimensional nerds building a robot. This is a group of kids who are able to do a lot more than the standard high school curriculum gives them a chance to. In fact, even beyond what you can do with the AP level, in my opinion. So we're a group of about 20 coaches, 12 coaches now, and we see it as our job to give these kids a sandbox to play in, a place they can go, and there's no upper limit in terms of what they can accomplish. Now, we just graduated, what is it, nine seniors? 6 of them are going to college in various STEM and engineering fields. 3 of them are going to tech school. If you fast forward a decade, I think we're going to end up with a history professor, a diesel mechanic, the best dentist in the state of Iowa, and a half dozen mechanical, electrical, and software engineers. So, pretty good. I look forward to continuing to work with y'all in the year ahead. We share your desire to get these kids prepared for the real world, and if on occasion maybe we've gotten them a little over-prepared, I'm not making any apologies. I am thinking that going forward, a senior gift for our graduates in the future should be a deck of those custom Team 5826 cards. We'll toss them a deck of cards and say, hey, when you're way ahead of the rest of the world and waiting for them to catch up here, this is something you can pass the time with. So I believe I've used up enough time. I'm going to turn this over to these people. I apologize for not being able to run the robot in this room, but when you see the video, you'll understand why.
So hi everyone, I'm Brett Schaefer. I'm the mechanical and design lead for 5826. So I am responsible for doing most of the CAD modeling and basically what ultimately goes on the robot. So this robot was an incredible feat for our team. In the first 6 weeks of our competition, we built an entire robot and then competed at Duluth around January 1st and 2nd, or sorry, March 1st and 2nd. At that competition, we had a lot of mechanical issues. So when we came back, we almost totally rebuilt the robot, and in another 4 weeks, we had pretty much an entirely new robot to compete with at La Crosse, which was towards the middle of April, so that was about April 7th. This robot has done a lot of incredible things in its tenure, but let's talk about kind of what it does in general. So first of all, we have our intake in our arm. So what it does is it'll go around and pick up these little orange donuts that are called notes, so I'll be referring to them as that. Basically, this can go and manipulate it in different locations. As you see here, this is one of our goals. It's called the amp. It's basically like a little mail slot that you're able to put it in. And then later on in the video, there is a higher goal called the speaker. So if you want to play that, we'll show a couple things on it. So this is it going into the lower goal and then dropping it. And then when we're going to pick up the notes, we have about 6 cameras on the robot that will automatically check the note and it will drive up to it, called seeking mode. And this is our automated shooting. So based off the position that is seen on the cameras, we are able to do all the geometry and math to get into the speaker very reliably. here that you'll see in a second is our favorite little party trick. At the end of the match, we are allowed to go on a thing called the stage, which is a chain that's about a little under 3 feet in the air. So you'll see right now the robot will, and again, this is an older version of the robot. In about 1 second, the robot will jump up in the air and latch onto a chain and then lock itself in place. So there's a lot of really interesting things about this robot. Just a little bit of statistics here. It has 6 cameras on it that help us find our position on the field, as well as look for these little orange notes. On top of that, there's about 16 sensors, 15 different motors, and a whole assortment of extra little bling to make it a little bit cooler. So we'll take a little more mechanical questions at the end if you'd like, but I'm going to pass it on to Megan.
Hey, I'm Megan. As I've already talked to you guys before, so I'm not going to talk about my future anymore. So, although this has been, even just this past season has been absolutely incredible for me, and it's been an amazing learning experience. And I say that because when Brett said that we had mechanical issues in Duluth,
Understatement?
yeah, so I'm the driver. I drive this robot in competition, and so did you know that when you make a robot that's really fancy and it looks really pretty, but it's really complicated and kind of fragile, and then you give it to me to drive, it breaks? He knows that now.
Learned my lesson.
So we did have some mechanical issues. I was a little rough on it. I had a great time. Okay, this was my last season of robotics in high school, and I can confidently say that it was probably one of, if not the best one. We didn't accomplish as much on paper, but I had so much fun and I learned so much. And I love this robot. It's such a great robot. But, now I'm going off on a tangent, but this season's been great. We got in lacrosse, we actually won an award for gracious professionalism, which is being kind and professional and respectful to your opponents and everybody, no matter what happens, no matter if you're winning, if you're losing, if they break, you break. Just be professional, just be nice to everybody. It's a big part of the program. So we got that award, which I would like to partially thank the GOAT for, because we did talk to the judges about him and how the GOAT. It's kind of a long story, and I don't have that much time left, but yeah, I don't really know what else to say. We can go for questions now, cause yeah, I don't have a tangent right now.
Was the video shot at real speed? That's how fast you were driving it?
Yeah, so in a lot of our practice, we're actually throttling down. So that's about half to 3/4 speed of our actual top motor speed.
That wasn't even.
I love the thing throwing it into the, I don't know what you call that. That's awesome.
The speaker. Yeah, the speaker's the high one. It's a lot of musical words this year for the theme, but.
So is speed part of the contest as well?
Yeah, on the competitive side, just generally being faster means you can score more points in an amount of time. So if you push past like a 3/4 of your throttle, you generally come into a lot of current issues. So we try to go as fast as possible and be as fast as possible with our arm movements and our driving and such.
Okay, I have some stuff I did not forget. So in April, I received an email from Megan pointing out that Mr. Wolter has now done 25 years in robotics, and how special and how much we appreciate what you've done, but all the kids really appreciate what you've done too. And it was pointed out that you really only wanted 2 things from all this 25 years. One was he wanted his pay doubled from 0 to 0.
Non-negotiable, Steve.
Non-negotiable. And the other thing was he really wanted a badge that said Dr. Walter, Robotics Overlord.
Thank you, thank you.
We can also take care of the second part right now. Motion to double Dr. Walter's salary.
I guess I'll have to update my resume one last time because what do you put robot overlord on there? What's left?
I
Thank you.
was told that was gonna make it.
All right, now we got to make sure this
All
one.
those in favor say aye. Aye.
Thank you.
Motion carries. Double.
All right, any other
Dr.
questions?
Also to echo on what you said, I mean, I think this district really focuses on exactly what you said in that mission statement. The fact that we have schools that are out there touting, you know, what the test scores in, and that's all that matters, and the numbers of kids that get into college. We are huge on the fact that if we could get 100 kids, I don't care if they dial in the ACT and get a 13 because they don't care, but they can do this, we will take that any day.
The people who do this and do it very well usually combine three different aspects in various proportions. We have some people with an absolutely unstoppable work ethic. We have some people who are way more creative than you need to get through most days. And then they're all pretty smart, some are really smart. These qualities are all necessary, but they're not always evenly balanced. I forgot to mention that among our 9 graduates, we had a valedictorian who, and I say this with all affection, is one of the laziest kids I've ever met. Anyway, we're going to keep at it.
Board members have any other questions?
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Or 2 or 3?
Go ahead.
What is 5826?
What is what?
The 5826, what does that stand for?
Well, when you join the First Robotics program, you get the next number in line. So we were the 5,826th team to join. They're up in the 10,000s now. We also have a name, Avis Automata, but when you go to events, everybody calls you by your number. There's just too many schools out there with similar names. We had 2 different, like, Thor and Viking related ones at the last tournament we were at. So everyone calls you by your number.
Thank you. Second question. What feedback did you use from lacrosse to help you to rebuild and come up with this model? Were there specific things that you...
Yeah, there was a lot of different things. One of the main things that we learned was, again, reliability and robustness. Our old robot had a lot of degrees of freedom, and that made it very difficult to not only tune, but also keep it reliable and structurally sound. So pretty much right away when we got back from Duluth, we totally took the entire arm sub-assembly off and then rebuilt it, redesigned it, and then made it what it is now. And just another thing, the intake that picks up and shoots the game pieces went through 14 different iterations, and 4 or 5 of them was in the 4 weeks between Duluth and lacrosse. So it was just a really fast, like, mad dash of fixing things and kind of redesigning and fixing a lot of the problems that we had before.
And then my last question, what skills and or knowledge did you find most helpful in your educational journey to help you be so successful on the robotics team?
Yeah. You're kind of tired today, sorry guys. So definitely just things like communication skills that I did from like my my communications class in high school, AP seminar, just being, I know it's very unpopular, but being forced to go up in front of the class and give a speech, it was helpful. It sucked, but it was helpful. And the communication skills are a big part of it. The technical skills too are, I admit, I was not a tech ed kid. I did not take many tech ed classes, so this was mostly just robotics teaching me these things, but it was definitely more of the people skills for me that my years of just school has helped me with, definitely.
Kind of same thing here, just people skills too. AP seminar was a huge help. Joining forensics this year was incredible. It's a great program to just get to know and meet a lot of different people. Technical side, a lot of the CAD classes were super helpful. That was one of our major leaps this year, was just making sure we had as much of the robot CAD before we actually started building it as possible, and that really helped a lot.
See, so I never joined forensics because it overlapped with robotics, and I didn't want to miss robotics, so.
Thank you. Thank you for giving me the time to ask.
Just one last question. So one of my favorite hobbies is I play blackjack and count cards. Do you think I can borrow your team for a weekend?
There is an entire subtopic of strategy that transfer very, very well to what you're talking about. The level of strategy discussion that this guy in particular gets into is very, very arcane.
I can see that from his discussions.
Gambling is
In 3 hours with you, I'll teach you how to count cards. I know I just don't want the casino
Turtle
to
Lake,
see this.
we're watching you right now.
All right, thank you all very much.
Thanks for having us.
Good luck.
Great job. Thank you all so much.
Excellent.
Good luck to both of
Enjoy
you.
your next adventure.
Thank you.
I am happy to report that OE3 is in full compliance. The documents, the necessary documents associated with it are included in that document. For me, it's the easiest one to report on. It either is or it isn't, and it is.
Board members have any questions before we would look for a motion to accept this as our own report for further discussion? Otherwise, is there a motion to accept this report as our own further discussion? So moved. Motion by Fear, is there a second? Second by McElwain, any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The board has now accepted this report. It is now ours to further discuss. Do board members have any questions regarding OE3 Emergency Superintendent Succession? It is a real easy report. The only requirement is that we have a succession plan, and we do have a succession plan, so unless there are any questions, using our operational expectation policy motion language, is there a motion?
Motion.
Are you moving that the district is in compliance with OE?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Yeah, motion that the district is in compliance with OE3.
All right, motion by Martineau. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Fear. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The board finds the district in compliance with OE3. Thank you, Mr. Holmes. All right, next is our board's consent agenda. Would any board member request the removal of any items of the consent agenda for separate consideration? Hearing none, I would look for a motion to approve the board's consent agenda as presented.
So move.
Motion by Olson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Martineau. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The board consent agenda is approved as presented. Next is the superintendent's consent agenda. Is a board member asking for removal of the superintendent's consent agenda, any items for separate consideration? Hearing none, look for a motion to approve the superintendent's consent agenda as presented. Motion by McElwain. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Olson. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. The superintendent's consent agenda is approved as presented. Matters reserved for board action. There are no items removed from the consent agenda for board action on either the board's consent agenda or the superintendent's consent agenda. Under 9.03, we do have an action item, a budget transfer. Mr. Trowbridge.
Thank you, Mr. Check. This is something that we do a couple times a year here, making sure that we're doing some budget monitoring, other than your regular monthly look at financials. There are several reports within board docs for your viewing. All as of June 30th, that's the end of our fiscal year. All booked as of July 16th, which was last Tuesday, in preparation to make sure that these were ready for your board packet this evening. We have an executive revenue summary, executive expenditure summary, school board summary by object. Those are reports that are quite familiar to you. And then a couple other additional reports that we bring to these updates: a budget source summary, budget object summary, a budget function report, and a budget function summary. So kind of in the weeds, a little bit higher, a little bit higher, a little bit higher as we move along. So first of all, if you would, please look at the budget source summary. This is our list of revenues in a fairly detailed fashion. As we know, state aid, property taxes, the final year of ESSER dollars, ESSER 3 this year, are a bulk of our revenues. We are under budget in some of those areas, but we're over in other. There's a few coding changes in here that happen throughout the year, but one that I want to highlight is 280, interest on investments. We did much better in that area this year than we did in past years, and we have planned for better results for the next year, and it's a result of economic conditions nationally and locally and statewide. Overall, we were projecting to be slightly over budget in revenue, and that's where we were. Switching to more of the expense side, looking at a budget object summary, again as of June 30th. This lists our expenditures in a fairly detailed version of the what. Here again, similar to revenue, in a budget plan there are some overages and underages, and we would expect some of that. When we met in January, we did highlight that 241 medical was trending high. But it was trending high both in the active and retiree categories. So it affects 218 also, so those two different objects. But much of it comes down to timing. As we straddle a fiscal year, and it seems like I bring this up every year, as we hit June 30th, July 1st, we have some stop loss reimbursements that we will receive for coverage that was services that were rendered prior to June 30th, but we won't get those revenues till after July 1st. We did have some savings. Another area that I'll highlight here with some unfilled positions. That's an unintended benefit. Obviously, we would rather have our people in our positions. And we also ran into a couple projects that we were working on that we had intended to finish up by fiscal year end. The amount of rain that we had delayed those projects a little bit. So at the end of the day, it all worked out okay, but some of the portions of those we were able to progress, bill all of them, but some will push into 24, 25. And we somewhat anticipated that could happen. Between the end of the school year and June 30th is not a large amount of time, so some of these projects are just a little bit bigger than we can normally accomplish in that time. As we filter all of this through, expenditures are slightly over budget, but overall slightly below our revenues. So as we hit the end of the fiscal year, I think we're in a decent position here. We do have a few other reports that I'll highlight and then just kind of give you a kind of a recap here, if you will. We have a budget function report, again as of June 30th. That's summarized by some of our program categories, and as that filters out in just a different look, some overages and underages, mostly healthcare cost related, but we do have some open enrollment expense sometimes that fluctuates throughout the year that is difficult to budget for. We also have a budget function summary, and this is a little bit more major, so rolled up. Again, as we filter through a higher level of function here, there are some overages and underages, but based on those things previously mentioned, when paired with revenue, overall, from my perspective, I think pretty decent. We also have for backup and viewing, if you want to get a little bit more granular, take a deeper dive, an executive revenue summary, executive expenditure summary, and that school board summary by object. And I always like to just say a reminder on that object report, remember it's by fund, and then revenues first, then expenses. So sometimes that report's a little hard to navigate, but all of our year-end payroll, payables, receivables are all tying out pretty well. We have everything captured that we know of. We may have some things that will trickle in here over the coming days and weeks, but I wouldn't expect that should be anything major. We're recommending to leave the year-end budget as is. This will set us up well for our final aid figure that we won't receive until October 15th, but it's important to get our aid that we spend our budget, and I think this does that for you. This doesn't require a budget publication. We will be able to do a restatement of this when we do our fall budget report. We're not moving money between funds or anything like that. Another thing I'll add, our auditors are here this week. Things are going well. Well, I shouldn't say, they're working remotely, but the audit is taking place this week. Things from an audit perspective are going well, and I would expect that that will continue. So as we finish our year-end work, finish the audit, we would come back to you in August if something turns up that is different than we expect, or if we have some sort of material issue that we would need to address, or we need to restate anything that's significantly different than what we have before you tonight. So our recommendation is to ask for a motion to approve the budget year-end plan as presented, just so we're all on the same page in terms of that, and obviously answer any questions that you might have.
Board members have questions for Mr. Trowbridge.
So we're over budget, 149,000. Is that what I'm reading then?
Yep.
And what is that, like 0.1, 0.2?
Pretty small, yeah.
0.01.
One, yeah, and being a little bit over in revenue, overall,
Sure.
about 329,000.
Well done.
Any other questions? Otherwise, the recommended action is to approve the budget year-end plan as presented. Motion by McElwain.
Second.
Second by Fear. Any further discussion? Clerk, roll call, please.
Sharon McElwain. Aye. Dennis Fair.
Aye.
Dave Martineau.
Aye.
Peggy McKillop. Aye. Steve Olson.
Aye.
Dave Check.
Aye. All right, motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Trowbridge. 9.04, consideration of communication committee meeting notes. Members present were Steve Olson, Dennis Fear. Others present were Kathy Striger, Jeff Holmes, Chad Trowbridge, and Angela Hills. Biles, sorry. Is that right? I always call you Angela. Should be Miss Biles. That's nice.
You should have added yet.
Yeah, all right. So who is the chair of the committee? Is that Dennis? Or you nominated Steve Olson, that's what I saw.
Yes, we met, as we discussed earlier, we're going to develop a program where we are going to open up our walk and learns to public. And so Kathy's finishing up the thing, so it'll be an invitation. And so we're going to take recommendations from principals or administrative people as far as how the names are. We're probably going to limit it to 3 to 4 to 5 people per walk and learn. This will serve a couple purposes. It's going to give the public, especially the people that are maybe thinking down the road of running for the board or want more information, they'll get a chance to walk and see some of what's happening on the inside. Also, it lends itself to more transparency as far as what's happening in the school district. And like I said, I think it's a good opportunity. And also, when we go to a school and sometimes it's 3 or 4 board members and the staff, and they've gone to all this work, this will be an opportunity for that specific school to feel like there's more people seeing what's happening. So that's going to be happening. As a former principal, you think that's a pretty good idea?
Kind of exciting.
So anyway, Kathy's going to work out the details and get back to us, and so they'll be coordinated through the communication program into the district.
Board members have any questions?
Oh, and I guess the last thing is we have been getting some inquiries as far as what the next, when the state is going to decide on revenue stuff. And so we just had discussions on how we can get that information out in case anybody's looking. And so Chad and Jeff are working on that.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Olson. The recommended action is to approve the July 16, 2024 Communication Committee meeting notes as presented. Is there a motion?
So move.
Motion by Olson. Is there a second? Second by McElwain. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, under 9.05 is consideration of the policy committee meeting notes. And on this one, committee meeting members present were Dennis Fear and Peggy McKillop. Also voted at that time. You're the chair. Or who's the chair? Is Dennis?
Yeah.
There you go.
So, you know, we met, we talked mostly about Title IX. A lot of that is still up in the air, so we kind of went through the preliminary policy changes and that sort of thing with it, but due to the fact that a lot of it's still up in the air with the state, we've set another meeting for, I believe, the 30th, and we'll go through it at that time and hopefully have something to present to the board or recommend to the board after that.
Board members have any questions for the policy committee? Recommended action is to approve the July 17, 2024 policy committee meeting notes as presented.
So moved.
Motion by McElwain. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Fear. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. 1724 policy committee meeting notes as presented. Communicating with the board, 10.01, we have our enrollment update. Mr. Trowbridge.
Thank you. This is something that for us as an admin team, we discuss at least weekly, if not more frequently than that. Enrollment is something for us that does change on a daily basis as we have families transition in and out of the district. What we find is that this time of year, our enrollments kind of ramp up. We see that kind of normal for this time of year, but oftentimes later, mid-August, when other schools return, is when we get a lot of records requests for students who have moved out of our district and who are going somewhere else. So it's, again, a little bit normal for this time of year to see some higher numbers. I'll talk more globally, and then maybe we can get into some kind of deeper things here, but there are still, and we brought you an update in June, there are a couple of areas that we are keeping a very close eye on, both kindergarten and first grade at Homestead, second grade at Hillcrest, both kindergarten and first grade at Southview, and kindergarten at Stilson. As we've been slightly declining in enrollment as a district, this is something that we've tried to be very mindful of, both in planning but also in keeping an eye on where things are trending. So out of the 75 elementary classroom sections that we have, 53 are within our parameters, 17 are below our parameters, and 5 are over our parameters. And the reason I highlight that is because the 5 that are over our parameters right now, if we did hire a third section, would put us below our targeted parameters. So it's something we keep an eye on to make sure that we're making the right decision as we move forward. So unfortunately, that's not something we can necessarily predict with a whole lot of certainty until we get closer to the start of the school year. But middle level and high school numbers seem to be fairly consistent. Again, this is just an update and FYI that there's some areas that we're definitely keeping an eye on.
So, Mr. Trowbridge, can you touch just a little bit on what numbers we are essentially looking at? I mean, these aren't the final numbers that we're looking at and making decisions on, correct? And I'm saying this, I mean, obviously, for the people that were here speaking and seeing those numbers, those are the worst numbers, obviously, but regardless of whether they were or not, we would want to take a look at those numbers. But when do we actually look at the numbers and make the decision on that?
Good question. I'm going to turn that over
Can I
to
start, and then I'll add and others to chime in. It's one for me where we're constantly looking at these numbers. It's practically on a daily basis. We have adjustments that are made daily through our registrars. So we are very mindful of monitoring these numbers and trying to do the best with these numbers that we can for our students and their families and the district. I want to emphasize that, actual enrollment numbers often fluctuate during the course of the summer, and they will even fluctuate during the course of the school year. Then we also take into consideration the available resources and the budget considerations that we have. And then through our curriculum and special ed departments, we talk about educational best practices and the research on optimal learning environments. We look at everything from caseloads, special services, and initiatives that come down the pike. For instance, Act 20, which is going forward in this next school year. And then we definitely listen to feedback from parents and teachers and the staff in that regard. I do appreciate those parents, reminding us that we're being watched. I mean, I get it. It's not one for me that we take lightly. Our preference is to have smaller class sizes. There's a lot of factors that go into making those determinations. And the earliest I think that we can make any true formal recommendation on class sizes will be mid-August. And you will, by then, it's not a decision made in silo. It's not me making a final decision in regard to those things. It's in consultation with numerous people and taking into consideration multiple factors. So that's where we currently are.
So in terms of looking at these numbers, just to see what we're dealing with and how difficult this process is, if we just take a look at Hillcrest, the 5th grade has 48 kids in it. And a lot of these numbers are relatively the same from year to year within a couple, but you go to the 4th grade, 71 kids. Is there a reason for that? Is that just something that happens, that we go from 48 to 71 kids?
It's when parents decide to have their kids.
Well, I would like to point out that on the bottom, and this is the number that really bothers me, is the difference between open enrolled in and open enrolled out, which is 290 kids. And if you do the math, that's north of $3 million that our budget loses because we are seeing an exodus. You look at the numbers, first, second, and kindergarten, we have the largest numbers exiting, and then they're reintroducing themselves back in when they get up to the middle school and high school. And I've said this before, that what COVID, I don't want to say taught, but what it showed parents is that if this were ever to happen again, they could keep their first grader or their kindergartner home, but you can't teach physics right to your kid. And that's why when you look at the numbers for high school, they're pretty consistent. Middle school, not as consistent, but when you get lower there, kindergarten, we have 60 kids opting out, which is, even with our own numbers, that's 3 full sections. So my hope is that we could find out why we're seeing this in particular. I mean, that's my guess, but to do some sort of survey or reach out to parents and asking specifically, right, without judgment, right, that why are you pulling them out of these grades? Because one of our elementary schools, we have several classrooms now that are completely empty because we've lost, right, so many kids at the elementary level. And this puts more pressure because then you see all of a sudden, 53 or 54 for 2 sections, then you don't have the revenue, right, that we just lost, which kind of balances things out. So I'm really concerned with that bottom piece, because that to me says somehow we're not meeting the expectations of parents and they're opting to leave. And so in kindergarten, let me just finish one thing. And just in kindergarten, that's 42 kids that opted out over those that opted in. That's quite a sizable number, and at what, $11,000, $12,000 a head.
11,325.
Yep. And so that's an immense amount of money that we could pool to have other resources that we need for not just those students, but others.
And what I will say, Dave, I don't like the 2-to-1 ratio out versus an in, but it's been very consistent over time and pretty common in larger school districts to see prior to COVID.
We looked into this.
And this number is a little bit, these numbers are a little bit skewed because right now it's intent, people who have filled out applications. And as we roll over the data and find out who's really coming here and who's not coming here, it will look different as we get to the September count. Sometimes we just don't always get notified until later that a family's moved into our district or has decided they're gonna open enroll out and hadn't previously filled out. So it is, in my experience, and we have done survey work in this in the past, it's simply, as it's described, it's parental choice. And oftentimes, it's for various reasons, employment being one, daycare being another. I do see a lot of border balancing here. We are a very large geographic district and have quite a few parents who went to smaller schools surrounding us. They have a desire for their students to go to a smaller school. There are a lot of factors, and I look at the data, I don't like it either,
And I also think one of the reasons why we get people back in high school is because of the options we provide at the high school level.
Very much so. But still, even 290 kids, even if we were to somehow, with some parents, get them back in the district, it just puts us in better, not only financial, but a better scheduling, right staffing, and even 90, even if out of the 290, if we were to get, say, 90 of those back, that would make a very large impact, a positive one for our district. So I know it's been a problem, but we somehow have to become innovative and figure out what we can do. If it's childcare, then we need to look at resources that maybe other local governments provide and that we can hook up parents with so that they can send their kids here if they have right childcare needs, so on and so forth. But we just have to be innovative. We can't keep doing this. And as Mr. Trowbridge has pointed out before, the birth rate is going down. So if we don't somehow offset that by figuring out how to get some of these parents to bring their kids back in, then we get hit twice.
I do think in addition to that, I do think we have an affordable housing problem in our community. And when I say that, I'm not talking about low-income housing. I'm talking about affordable housing. Birth rate definitely is a trend statewide. Not scientific. People aren't having as many kids as they used to. I do think too that,
Except for one.
I don't know how to analyze this, but I have a wonder. We are very heavily reliant on manufacturing jobs in our community, and they're good jobs. But when you combine that with cost of housing, affordable living, and if that median price range is $350,000, it takes two really good incomes to pay for that. And I just wonder if manufacturing jobs are jobs that cause people to move to our community versus commute to, and I do think that contributes to some of this problem.
I just saw a number that for a couple to buy their first house, median house, their combined income would have to be over $125,000. And so, and I know this is a tough thing, but we have to figure out something. We just can't just accept it.
So two things in terms of what we can do about it. First, we have to trust that our administration has been looking at this problem for a long time and will continue to do so. What can we do as a board? That's really, I believe, on a communication committee. We've talked about that before. What can we do, to look at that and come up with some different ideas to maybe attract people here? That's what we can do, is have the communication committee, if we want to put our heads together and brainstorm, that's the place to do it. But we're going to be doing double duty because our administration's been actively looking at that as well. But you're right, that's something we got to look at. What I was pointing out was, the difficulty, and for the parents, yes, to say that 27 is way too many kids, and we we have to do something. Clearly, what we're looking at though is a number of things. We have a difference, you know, you go from, what I say, 48 to 71 kids in a different class. The difficulty of moving that around by telling parents, okay, we're gonna force you to go into a different, you know, you're essentially redistricting. That's what you're doing to balancing it, and parents don't like to be told that, by the way, next year your kids are now going to Southview or Parkview or Hillcrest, you know, so it isn't that easy to just balance it out that way, and these.
But I would like to point out that the kindergarten, first, second grade, the district's recommended class size is smaller than third, fourth, and fifth. So even at 48, 24 is well within the recommended class size for fifth grade, but 26 is way out of bounds, right, for the recommended for second grade. So, and yeah, this is my as a former teacher, knowing class sizes, this is what bothers me the most.
And I can appreciate that. One of my personal idea and the thing that I'm moving forward this fall with people is, it's actually an old idea that in order to counter that particular problem, given everything that I currently know from all the research, what we need to do is make sure we're an organization that promotes its positives over its negatives. That the message coming out of our staff and out of our leadership, administration, board members, and everything is a focus on what positive things we have going on here. The things that we have going on with the programs with robotics, with CTE, in the classrooms where you find success with that individual student, and the things like what the middle school did last year with positive messaging to parents and so forth. The best way to get people to understand how great this district is through word of mouth. And it is just the polar opposite as well. If you want to bring a district down, let it be otherwise. My idea is to make sure that people in this place focus more on our positives, which far, far outweigh our negatives. That's the answer to that problem. We need people going home, our students going home, our teachers going home, and telling people how great this organization is, which it is. It's a great place to be.
Chad, one question I had about that. Have we considered possibly ask, or maybe as a temporary solution for the Hillcrest classrooms, offering some of those parents to take a transfer bus in the morning to maybe a different, if there was no other solution, maybe.
We haven't just yet. It is something that has been considered in the past year. It's difficult. Some families will opt for that. It's hard to make that a one-year decision though, but that's really what it needs to be. The other option that we do have for parents is a request for reassignment. It's not something that we necessarily promote, but we may have to consider that as an option too, to ask, see if anybody wants to voluntarily transfer to another school.
There might be a couple people that, really you're not talking that many, but 3 or 4.
The majority of people want their kids to attend their home school. That's a tough thing to overcome. You can't rule it out for sure.
And of the map, is Hillcrest the smallest? If I'm trying to think, but of that distance, right, Hillcrest is the smallest district or school of all of ours, right?
Geographic
Yeah,
attendance area?
geographic.
No, not actually. I'd have to calculate them, but it's probably second largest. It goes all the way to Tilden.
Oh, that's right. I'm thinking West Hill. Yeah, okay, I got you.
So I guess going forward, if you as an administration see a need where we as a communication committee could help or support you, let us know, and then we will convene with that.
Right, so bottom line is, when are the numbers coming out that you really look at in making those final decisions?
I think we'll all give you a different answer.
Yeah.
For me, after the start of the school year.
Right.
Part of the difficult because I've worked this job before, is a lot of the smaller districts in the area don't have anybody working in their school offices during the summer. So until they come back, which is sometime mid-August, they don't know who's leaving their schools and don't send their records request out. So it delays us knowing who's, you know, staying or going. So that's kind of makes it hard.
To Chad's point, often we don't know what the final number's gonna be until they show up.
Can I ask a hypothetical question then? So, and I'm not saying this is what we should do, I'm just asking. So if we don't necessarily know until September, but we can put an extra aid in really large classes, is there a way to adjust it mid-year?
Well, that was one of the things that we tried last
Or
year.
mid-first quarter or whatever, do you know what I'm saying?
That, last year for me, given there were changes at the state level that allowed for us to essentially what I would call pilot what we did at Hillcrest last year. And based on the outcome of it, I don't think it works. So for me, it's one where we have to make a decision whether it's going to be a teacher or not.
Okay.
I will say this though, 27 kids in the classroom, even if you put another adult in the classroom for kids that have ADHD or any type of attention, that's just or kids with anxieties or mental health,
Overstimulation.
it's overstimulation. And then the other thing is I worry about is we have a new principal at Hillcrest. And if teachers have 27 kids in a room, there's a lot of times that they just don't have a chance to work with the discipline there. They end up then having to rely more on the principal, right, to do that discipline, just simply because they don't have enough right hands to go around. So
we are lucky in that regard. We did get a seasoned principal
Yes.
for that position.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Trowbridge, for your presentation. And that is an informational only discussion, so no action items. Next is 10.02 is the student handbook revisions. Wisconsin State Fair, what does that have to do with that? Student handbook revisions, Mr. Holmes.
These are provided to the board just to give you an idea of what changes did occur, and so that you're aware of those things. In my review of both of those, I didn't see anything extraordinarily different than years past. A lot of wording changes, a lot of updates to names. The Title IX stuff that's coming down the pike that we'll have to make adjustments and so forth will have to be made once we finalize the Title IX and policy changes. So nothing really jumped out for me to make special note of, but these are just typical changes that take place on an annual basis.
Board members have any questions about the handbook revisions or anything that they saw that they want to discuss? All right, hearing none. 10.03 is discussion of board activities. The only thing I have listed here is the July 10th, 14th Northern Wisconsin State Fair. I know a number of us were there helping out at the booth. I think obviously we're going to have a discussion, probably a recap at some point in time of whether or not we feel that there's a continuing benefit of that or not. I know I was there with Mr. Holmes. We had a good time. I can see he used to be a teacher. He's really good with the younger kids that come up to the booth. I'm not sure how the other people handle it and everything, but he was very outgoing and engaging with just about every student. We tried to steal as many North kids as we could. Very keen on what sweatshirts they were wearing and what we had to do to pull them away. You talk about what we're doing to try to get enrollment going this way.
Well, there were a lot of kids that stopped on Sunday to my booth. And when I got there, I was told that there were no prizes left and not to pull out the wheel of chance. And I don't know how many times somebody goes, hey, where'd that tall guy go with the wheel? We want some more stuff. So evidently, Mr. Olson was very gracious and handed out lots of things.
Ms. Chris was there supervising me, so I can't take total responsibility for that. I looked at the wheel as simply a suggestion. Would that be fair, Chris?
Yes.
How many times did you say, you, football?
You deserve a football.
You get the football.
You get. So anyway, like I said, I enjoy talking to the people. Like I said, especially the first couple days, get mainly people from out of town. I don't know if at the evenings they're getting more of the local people, but most of the people we were talking to were from out of town, and I was maybe using the same tactic that lots of sponsors here. I'm told that when I try to talk about some of the benefits to some of the teachers that they told me where they're teaching, I also, Chris maybe said you can't say that we have a nice drug program for the staff. You're supposed to be nice.
You want to rephrase that? Is that what you suggested?
Our local pharmacy, our district pharmacy is good.
Yeah. So it was fun, and as a board member, when we get paired with administration, you get to sit there for a couple hours and chat people up, and I enjoyed that, and I always have in the past with other people too, so.
All right, next is discussion of this meeting. This is probably one of our shortest meetings ever, which is good. Any questions? Anybody now's a good time to discuss this since we have time. Everybody feel that they had an opportunity to speak what they wanted to say and communicate effectively, stay in our roles? These are things that we've never read before, but did we not engage in side conversations, not repeat what was already said, not monopolize the discussion, except for the president who's allowed to do that? Direct comments to board members, not interrupt each other, speak when recognized. Anybody want to jump in and everything good?
Everything's good.
So when are we gonna get information regarding the kickoff as far as what time you want us there and all that stuff?
Breakfast is served at 7:30 this year.
And I think I sent a calendar, to your calendar for but the presentation starts at 8:30.
8:30, okay.
The only thing I don't see on here, and I talked to Kathy Strecker this morning, is the Pure Water Days parade.
Oh, yeah.
And she is hoping that she might get one or two board members that would be willing to walk along.
So that does bring us to the future agenda items and upcoming events. We do have the policy committee meeting that is July 30th at 2 o'clock. We have CISA 10 annual convention August 1st at 7 o'clock. Board member Martineau is the CISA 10 representative. Business after hours, August 12th at 4:30 is the is at the Eau Claire Event District. Mentor Mentee Luncheon, August 20th, 12 to 1.
I would encourage board members to come to that one. They really, really do like it when board members show up for their, as new teachers, new staff people, to have board members at that. They really appreciate it.
And that's, again, at the Chippewa Senior High School.
On that.
You'll also get one from our department.
August 26th, 8:30 a.m. to 12 is the all-staff kickoff at the high school. August 27th at 7 o'clock p.m. is the regular board meeting. And October 9th at 5 o'clock is our board data review, time to be determined. Is that the one?
That's the one, and before you discuss that, if you would, I would also, on that all-staff kickoff, I would let board members know the guest speaker this year is Dr. Lona Cook, who does a lot of work in regard to, how would you say? Mindfulness, positive mindsets, and all those types of things, and how to help promote that sort of work. Based on my conversation with her, her being a former Chi student and graduate of here, and her outlook on things, I think she'll do a wonderful job with the president.
Is this the time where I could bring up a possible agenda item for next month, or is there a different way I should do that?
Go ahead. I was gonna suggest that maybe if we wanted to do that at a meeting, you should just put future agenda items as part of your agenda. Because then you could bring it up. Otherwise, I think you'd have to talk to Dave.
Okay, I can do that. I just,
Shoot an email.
okay.
We can, what happens is we'd like to have that before our agenda planning meeting that we have. And that's usually,
The second week.
second week, so you got plenty of time
Okay.
to do that. But question, I think, on the board data review, you know, this is something that was set up about, I think, what did we say, 5 or 6 years ago? Not really sure why.
7 years ago, based on my conversation with central office team members surrounding that data review, which winds up being anywhere from a 3 to 4 hour night for board members, and it's a sit and get, just we bombard you with data. One of the conversations that we had at central office level is through our OEs, you're getting a double dose of the data. For me, it's one of those things where I think, you know, what made a lot of sense, we talked briefly with the communication committee about this as well, is possibly using that time for a short period of time and talk about strategic things rather than talking about just data and so forth. You know, still have the event that night, but make it shorter and make it more strategic.
Is this the one we moved from June to October?
Yep.
When this got started, I think, you know, I want to say there was unfortunately probably a little bit more either discord or a lack of understanding between the board and administration, and there were times when it really helped to have that extra sit down and understand the data, understand what we were looking for in data in a you know, not pressure setting of having the public here where we could get the data. I don't necessarily see it as something that is going to benefit any of the current board members because of what you said. We are getting this data presented, and I think we're getting it presented in our OEs and everything, and that's all it would be. But a strategic session, I think we could definitely use right now. We brought up one item tonight, and we certainly have other things too. But
Yeah, one of the things we were talking about is we have this 3-year window, and so we need to start looking forward to the day that our money expires, and then what do we can do to prepare and looking forward, and it all encompasses everything from enrollment to just having the discussion, so we don't get to year 3 of our money, and because now we're trying to figure out which way we're going. So just to kind of maybe step things out or strategically look at some stuff.
So are all board members comfortable that our administration presents or prepares to present that kind of presentation rather than just basically reiterate the data and dump the stuff we've already got?
Well, and to be perfectly honest, 3 or 4 hours of data is information overload, and
Something a little more pinpoint, right, would probably be more useful.
I agree.
Does that give you guys an understanding of what we'd be looking for? Okay, sounds perfect. Any other item? You mentioned Pure Water Days. Pure Water Days is when? What's the dates of that?
It's August 10th, and their meet around 12:30.
And you said they're looking for,
People to walk along with and pass out items.
But you have to hand it to them now. You can't throw it anymore. They changed.
that was an issue?
Yes, yes.
Because kids would run out. Almost get run over.
You have to hand it to them. You can't throw it.
Right, any other activities that we didn't cover that a board member would like to point out that is going on with the board or the community? Right, hearing none, 12.01, we're looking for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Martin, was there a second? Second. Second by Beer, any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. 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 Opposed? Motion carries, we stand adjourned.
So I just looked at the calendar, I'm actually gone that